Unit 5 Significant Aspects of Political Processes. Multi-party system. A multi-party system is in which multiple political parties compete with each other in the country for national level elections. All these parties who participate in the political run have the capability to gain control of the offices either independently or by combining with other party or parties. The emergence of political parties and their growth has a close connection with democracy and the electoral system. Multi-party systems are common in the parliamentary form of systems as compared to presidential systems. There are many countries in the world who follow the multi-party system. For example, India, Argentina, Austria, Brazil, France, Finland, Iceland, Indonesia, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Moldova, Nepal, the Netherlands, Philippines, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, Spain, New Zealand, Taiwan, Norway, Lebanon, Mexico, Switzerland, Sri Lanka, Sweden, Tunisia, and many more. In most of the above-mentioned countries, generally no single party has a parliamentary majority by itself. Instead, multiple political parties form alliance or a group and combine into one for the purpose of developing powerful system for governance. The party system in Indian politics. The creation of parties for any country is ongoing process. Ernest Baker considered British system as a mother of parties and hence mother of all parliamentary systems of the world. The cultural diversity, demographic factors like social caste, community, religion, traditions of the national movements, different styles of leadership in each party, and clashing ideological perspectives between the different parties has helped to shape Indian party structure. For example, we consider BJP as mostly a party which favors Hindus, but it justifies its point by saying that all people living in Hindustan are Hindus. Each party has its own ideology, and all this combined has led to formation of Indian political culture. The events, reform movements such as Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, Aligarh movement, Singh Sabha movement, etc. require representation of Indians in civil services and needed some people with decision-making skills, and also helped in developing a protest against the policies of colonial masters at various stages. These movements were led by powerful, committed, selfless leaders. The emergence of powerful leadership at different stages of reforms and anti-colonial movements played a very important role in the emergence of democratic political culture that exists in India today. The formation of Indian National Congress was the beginning of a new phase for evolution of parties and a justification of their growing unity as a nation. Evolution of multi-party systems in India. The current Indian party system has evolved through a lot of phases from one party to multi-party system. First, one party dominant system. The Congress party was in its position as a popular party from 1952 till 1967, occupying most of the space in Indian political system because there was plurality within the dominant party system. That is, the number of votes for the Congress party were in the greatest number, which made it more representative and flexible. Second, polarization of regional political parties. The 1967 elections showed division in Indian politics, which led to major structural changes in the political system, thus leading to shift from dominant party systems to competitive politics. This was a very important phase in Indian politics as it showed that the confidence of citizens of nation was shifting from Congress. 1973 onwards, Indira Gandhi suffered a loss of popularity due to a nationwide drought in 1971. During this phase, the government couldn't give satisfactory services and aid to its citizens. 1972 and 1973 was also accompanied by high inflation, a massive railway strike, and general economic crisis. The popularity and dominance of Congress was wearing out. On the one hand, party started losing majority. It lost in 8 states assemblies during that phase out of 16 states. This phase lasted from 1967 to 1977, almost 10 years. Third, evolution of bi-party situation, mergers and splits, 1977 to 1979. The general elections in the year 1977 brought to an end 30 years of Congress party rule. Out of these 30 years, 11 years of government were led by Indira Gandhi, and it was a 21-month of an emergency that had set the nation on a dictatorial rule following. During this phase of rule of Indira Gandhi, it contributed to the formation of oppositional organizations and movements such as the Nava Nirman Yuvak Samiti in Gujarat and the Chhatra Sangharsh Samiti in Bihar, as well as the student bodies that spread rapidly to other states, which further created a pattern of future politics in India. This was 2-year phase 1977 to 1979, which led to change in the mindset of the people. Fourth, restoration of Congress party's dominance. During the 7th Lok Sabha elections in 1980, the Congress party again came into dominance with 2/3 majority in the lower house, securing 351 seats. During this time, it again regained its control and ruled the nation for 9 years, that is 1980 to 1989. Fifth, emergence of multi-party system at national level and the end of Congress dominance. However, in 1989, the parliamentary elections brought a forceful and extreme change in Indian politics, and the party system now shifted over from one party dominant system to multi-party system. 3 successive minority governments were formed, namely National Front under the leadership of VP Singh, the Samajwadi Janata Dal with Chandrasekhar as Prime Minister, and the Congress Party government headed by P.V. Narasimha Rao. This was the beginning of multi-party system. This was more diversified patterns of party domination in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and Vidhan Sabhas. It gave rise to a federation of governments where all merged together to work in same structure with mutual agreement. Due to the multi-party system, there was significant shift in the power structure at the top. Now, India, the world's largest democracy, has a multi-party system. We have a parliament with elected representatives from both state level and national level parties. The 540 members of the Lok Sabha comprise the legislature which frame the laws governing the country. Any party to have a majority in parliament needs to have at least 50% or more of the seats in Lok Sabha, which has a total strength of 540 members. If a single party is unable to match the 50% mark, then 2 or more parties can mutually combine to vote for a government and bring it into existence. When 2 or more parties add up their numbers in parliament by voting together and helping a government be created by majority, the arrangement is called a coalition. Most of the times it has been observed that all the parties join the government, but if any party votes for the government but stays out of the government, that party is regarded as part of the coalition but supporting the government from outside. The need for a coalition is important when no single party has the majority to form a government on its own capacity. If a coalition is not formed in such situations, that is, no party is willing to combine, then it leads to calling for fresh elections. But it can be said coalition in politics has led to India's search for true federalism, in true sense that has been termed by some scholars like Balveer Arora as a kind of electoral federalism. This system of coalition gives power to all the parties, which has led to empowerment of regional areas and the whole system. Disadvantages or shortcomings of a multi-party system. First, in India, we can say that elections are very expensive and not affordable by common man. The reason is a lot of money is required for alleys, advertisements, etc. However, intelligent and honest, if a person is not rich, fighting elections is very difficult. Also, the elected person makes use of political power first to serve their own interest rather than the interest of the nation. Second, in India, unfortunately, we still have caste system prevalent. Even when it comes to politics, a large number of votes are cast on the basis of caste and religion. Third, misuse of mass media during elections to propagate their policies and programs is also done by many political parties, which is unethical. Fourth, the voting percentage in India is also very low. Many people do not prefer to cast their votes. Almost 40 to 50% do not vote. Hence, it cannot be said that their elected parties are truly representatives of the whole nation. Fifth, another shortcoming of multi-party system is that it can lead to divisions in the nation. Sixth, the multi-party system provides too many choices to the public to vote. Therefore, too many parties are formed. Some of these parties do not even have the chance to come in power. It also leads to confusion for people who are voting. Seventh, one more disadvantage of the system is that in most cases after elections, no party is able to get the absolute majority to be able to form a government. Hence, some parties have to come together to form a government. This coalition government is mostly weak and unstable. Eighth, it leads to rivalry amongst the opposing parties. There are many parties aiming for ultimate goal of ruling the country. This leads to unhealthy rivalry among the various parties. It can result in conflicts and slow down the country's growth and development. Local self-government, urban and rural. In our day-to-day life, we all need basic facilities such as water supply, drainage, garbage disposal, public health and sanitation. We may many times have seen activities such as installation or repairing of street lights, construction of roads, etc. All these activities are performed by the local government. It is a part of the duties of the local self-government to provide and maintain these facilities. Local self-governments have two types of functions, the obligatory and the discretionary. The following are some of its functions. The obligatory or the compulsory functions. These functions are performed on a priority basis, that is, supply of pure and wholesome water regularly, construction and maintenance of public streets, lighting and watering of plants on public streets, cleaning of public streets, places and sewers regularly, maintenance or a support of public hospitals, establishments and maintenance of primary schools, registering of birth and death in the region, removing obstructions in public streets, bridges and other places, providing names to streets and numbering to houses. Discretionary functions or secondary functions. These functions are fulfilled only after the obligatory functions when the local government has surplus to spend. Laying out of areas, securing or removal of dangerous buildings or places, construction and maintenance of public parks, gardens, libraries, museums, rest houses, leper homes, orphanages, and rescue homes for women, creating public buildings, planting and maintenance of roadside and other trees, building houses for low-income groups, conducting surveys and collecting data, organizing public receptions, public exhibitions, public entertainment, provision of transportation facilities with the municipality, promotion of welfare of municipal employees. Some of the above mentioned functions of the local self-government overlap with the work of the state government. Local bodies have to be bestowed with adequate powers, authority, and responsibility to perform the functions entrusted upon them by the Act. In India, we have local self-government for urban as well as rural areas. The main function of the local self-government is regional development. Urban local bodies. In our towns and cities, we have local government institutions that are called municipalities or municipal corporations. An urban area is the one which is usually a densely populated area. It includes cities and towns. Municipal administration is necessary to provide basic civic facilities like water supply, drainage, garbage disposal, public health, primary education, construction, and maintenance of roads and sanitation. As local level democratic government, the municipal institutions are elected by the local people through municipal elections. The municipalities raise taxes and collect fees and fines from the public. They regulate city life by laying down regulations regarding buildings, road network, garbage disposal, and many other things. There are many developmental activities undertaken by them, like women and child development, slums improvement, etc. Municipal government has made possible participative urban development and local management of civic facilities. The municipal bodies constitutes of people chosen by direct election from the regional constituencies in the municipal area. However, the legislature of a state may, by law, may provide for the representation in a municipal body of persons having special knowledge or experience of municipal administrations. The members of Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, and the members of Legislative Council and Legislative Assembly of the state representing constituencies are a part of the municipality, which comprise wholly or partly the municipal area and the chairpersons of wards committee. The corporation functions through various committees, the standing committee being the most important. The head of the corporation is the mayor, elected by the councillor for 1 year. A civil servant called the municipal commissioner is the administrative head. It is a common practice to divide the organization of a corporation or a municipality into two parts, the deliberative and the executive part. The corporation, council or municipal board consisting of the elected representatives of the people constitute the deliberative part. It acts like a legislature. It discusses on general municipal policies and performance, passes the budget of the urban local body, frames broad policies relating to taxation, raising of resources, pricing of services, and other aspects of municipal administration. It maintains and regulates the municipal administration and holds the executives accountable for the work done and work not completed. For instance, if water supply is not being properly managed or there is an outbreak of epidemic, the deliberative wing criticizes the role of the administration and suggests measures for improvement. The executive part of municipal administration is looked after by the municipal officers and other permanent employees. In the corporations, the municipal commissioner is the executive head, and all other departmental officers like engineers, finance officers, health officers, etc. function under his or her control and supervision. Municipal functions are generally classified into obligatory and discretionary types. The obligatory or compulsory functions are those that the municipal body must perform, such as water supply, construction and maintenance of road, street, bridges, subways and other public works, street lighting, drainage and sewerage, garbage collection and disposal, prevention and control of epidemics, public vaccination, maintenance of hospitals and dispensaries including maternity and child welfare centers, checking food adulteration, removal of slums, supply of electricity, maintenance of cremation and burial grounds, and town planning. In some states, some of these functions may be taken up over by the state government. The discretionary functions are those that a municipal body may take up if it has extra funds. These are given less priority. Some of the discretionary functions are construction and maintenance of rescue homes and orphanages, housing for low-income groups, organizing public receptions, provision of treatment facilities, etc. Municipal corporations and municipalities have to raise their own funds. They do so from a variety of sources as provided for in the respective municipal laws. Their own revenue sources are income from taxes, fees and fines, and earning from municipal enterprises like land, tanks, markets, shops, etc., besides receive grants from the state. Rural local bodies. In villages, we have local government institutions that are called Panchayati Raj Institutions. And rural area is the one which is usually a less populated area. It does not need municipal administration like the urban area, but still needs institutions to basic civic facilities like water supply, drainage, garbage disposal, public health, primary education, construction, and maintenance of roads and sanitation. Panchayati Raj Institutions. The concept of Panchayati Raj is not only based on the ancient Indian belief that God lives in the Panch or Panch Parameshwar, which was very propounded by Mahatma Gandhi. He believed that power must be given to all sections of society and in grassroots of democracy. Reaching at the grassroots level and empowering the people and regions is possible only through village panchayats. The Panchayati Raj system is established in accordance with the 73rd Amendment. It is a three-tier structure based on direct elections at all the three tiers: village, intermediate, and district. Panchayati Raj was not taken up seriously by the states. However, they are now given constitutional status. The panchayats have been entrusted with the implementation of schemes for economic development and social justice. The Balwant Rai Mehta Committee suggested a three-tier structure of Panchayati Raj. This meant that Panchayati Raj should be set up at three levels. They should be provided with sufficient powers and resources. These three tiers of Panchayati Raj are: first, Zilla Parishad at district level; second, Panchayati Samiti at intermediate level or block level; third, village or Gram Panchayat at village level. Zilla Parishad. Zilla Parishad is at the district level and is the uppermost tier of the Panchayati Raj system. This institution has some directly elected members whose number differs from state to state as it is given based on population. It is a local government body that looks after the administration of rural areas in a district. The members to the Zilla Parishad are elected by the people for the term of 5 years. Some seats are reserved for SC, ST, OBC, and women. The president and vice president are elected for the term of 2.5 years. The main functions of Zilla Parishad include providing of facilities and initiating development programs for the rural people. It houses various committees like finance, education, health, agriculture, children welfare, animal husbandry, public works, water supply, and irrigation. Panchayat Samiti. The Panchayat Samiti is formed at the Taluka level. It is at second or middle tier of the Panchayati Raj, which provides a link between Gram Panchayat and a Zilla Parishad. It is headed by the chairperson. In the absence of chairperson, the deputy chairperson performs his functions. The Block Development Officer (BDO) is the executive head of the Panchayat Samiti. He is appointed by the state government. The functions of Panchayat Samiti are similar to that of the Zilla Parishad, with the only difference that it caters to the needs at the Taluka level. Village or Gram Panchayat. The lower tier of the Panchayati Raj system in the country is the village level Panchayat. It is known in most of the states as Gram Panchayat. It is formed in a village fulfilling the minimum population criteria, or else two or more villages are clubbed together. Sarpanch is the head of the Gram Panchayat. He supervises and implements the resolution passed by the Gram Panchayat. In the absence of the Sarpanch, the Deputy Sarpanch looks after the affairs of the people and the village. The functions of the Gram Panchayat includes looking after the basic amenities of the village. Gram Sevak is appointed by the Zilla Parishad to look after the routine work of the Gram Panchayat. The 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. The 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts were introduced in the early 1990s with the motive to achieve democratic decentralization and provide powers to local self-government. These amendments were to empower the local government with authority to endow panchayats and municipalities with such powers and functions necessary to enable them to act as institutions of self-government. Important features of 73rd Amendment. The 73rd Amendment to the Constitution, enacted in 1992, made compulsory provisions for the establishment, empowerment and functioning of Panchayati Raj institutions. Some provisions of this amendment are binding on the states, while others have been left to be decided by respective state legislatures at their discretion. Some of the compulsory requirements of the new law are: 1. Organization of Gram Sabhas. 2. Creation of a 3-tier Panchayati Raj structure at the Zilla, block and village levels. 3. Almost all posts at all levels to be filled by direct elections. 4. Minimum age for contesting elections to the Panchayati Raj institutions be 21 years. 5. The post of chairman at the Zilla and block levels should be filled by indirect elections. 6th, there should be reservations of seats for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes in panchayats in proportion to their population, and for women in panchayats up to 1/3 seats. 7th, state election commissions to be set up in each state to conduct elections to Panchayati Raj institutions. 8th, the tenure of Panchayati Raj institution is 5 years. If dissolved earlier, fresh elections to be held within 6 months. And 9th, a state finance commission to be set up in each state every 5 years. Features of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. Just like the 73rd Amendment Act tried to improve the rural bodies, the recommendation and suggestions of several commissions and committees appointed by the central government to improve the urban bodies resulted in the enactment of the Constitution, Act 1992. Earlier, before these amendments, state governments were free to manage their local bodies as they wished. The amendment made statutory provisions for the establishment, empowerment and functioning of urban local self-governing institutions. The main provision of this act can be grouped under 2 categories: compulsory and voluntary. Some of the compulsory provisions which are binding on all states are: 1. Constitution of Nagar or town panchayats, municipal councils and municipal corporations in small, big or very big urban areas respectively. 2. Reservation of seats in urban local bodies for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, roughly in proportion to their population. 3. Reservation of seats for women up to 1/3 seats. 4. The State Election Commission was constituted in order to conduct elections in the Panchayati Raj bodies. It will also conduct elections to the urban local self-governing bodies. 5th, the State Finance Commission, constituted to deal with financial affairs of the Panchayati Raj bodies, also looks into the financial affairs of the local urban self-governing bodies. 6. Tenure of urban local self-governing bodies is fixed at 5 years, and in case of earlier dissolution, fresh elections are held within 6 months. Some of the voluntary provisions which are not binding but are expected to be observed by the states are: 1. Giving voting rights to members of the union and state legislatures in these bodies. 2. Providing reservation for backward classes. 3. Giving financial powers in relation to taxes, duties, tolls and fees, etc. 4. Making the municipal bodies autonomous and devolution of powers to these bodies to perform some or all of the functions enumerated in the 12th schedule added to the Constitution through this Act, and or to prepare plans for economic development. In accordance with the 74th Amendment, municipal corporations and municipalities are now regulated in a fairly uniform manner in all the states. However, it is important to remember that local self-government continues to be a subject in the state list. Thus, the 73rd and 74th Amendment provide framework for the states in respect of local government. Thus, each state has its own election commission which conducts election to all local bodies after regular intervals of 5 years. Each state has its finance commission to regulate finances of the local bodies. Seats are reserved in the corporations and municipalities for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. 1/3 seats are reserved for women in all local bodies, urban and rural. Implications of 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments. The state government for a long time enjoyed power in the holding of election to local bodies. The 73rd and 74th Amendment takes away the option that the state government previously had. Until the passage of the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, the states were the only subnational units officially recognized by the Indian Constitution, and the Constitution grants individual states considerable legislative autonomy. Included in this list are items such as law and order, public health, agriculture, wealth taxes, land tenure and land reforms, and most notably in the current context, functions of local government. 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments date back to the constitutional bill which was introduced in the Parliament in July 1989. The introduction of this bill represented the first attempt to confer constitutional status on rural local governments. Though the bill's broader aim of empowering rural local government was greeted favorably, the bill was ultimately not passed in the Rajya Sabha. The amendments were officially enacted through the issuance of Government Notification, the Constitution Act 1992, also known as the 73rd Amendment, went into effect on April 24, 1993, and the Constitution Act 1992, also known as the 74th Amendment, on June 1, 1993. Because the amendments contain both mandatory and discretionary provisions, the degree of flexibility awarded to the states varied with the provision in question. The distinction between mandatory and discretionary provisions is mentioned in the specific language adopted in the Acts and carried over in the newly inserted articles of the Constitution. The key implications are: first, the establishment in every state, except those with population below 2 million, of rural local bodies at the village, intermediate and district levels, and formation of urban local self-governments. Second, direct elections to all seats in the panchayats at all levels. Third, compulsory elections to panchayats and municipalities every 5 years, with the elections being held before the end of the term. Fourth, mandatory reservation of seats in all panchayats at all levels for davits and advices in proportion to their share of the panchayat population. Fifth, mandatory reservation of 1/3 of all seats at all levels for women, with the reservation for women applying to the seats reserved for davits and advices as well. Sixth, indirect elections to the position of panchayat chairperson at the intermediate and district level. Seventh, mandatory reservation of the position of panchayat chairperson at all levels for davits and women and advices in proportion to their share in the state population. Eighth, in addition, the Act mandates the constitution of 2 state-level commissions, an independent election commission to supervise and manage elections to local bodies, much as the Election Commission of India manages state assembly and parliamentary elections. Ninth, a state finance commission should establish every 5 years to review the financial position of local bodies and recommend the principles that should govern the allocation of funds and taxation authorities to local bodies. 10th, two other points needed to be mentioned. The first is that while for the most part the 74th Amendment Act deals with urban local bodies, a key article contained in that amendment applies to rural local bodies as well. 11th, in order to facilitate a well-planned husbanding of available resources, panchayats and municipalities should be informed as early as possible of what they might be expecting to receive by a way of tied and untied funds under various budgetary heads for implementing various schemes. In a nutshell, we can conclude that illiteracy, lack of training, and prevalence of old traditionally dominant systems were the basic reason for the non-performance of the local self-government. But this should not be taken as a sign of its failure. We must realize that due to the new system, gradually consciousness is coming among such sections of the rural community, and they have raised their voice against exploitation and excess. In this regard, the regular elections to Panchayati Raj will prove to be a milestone towards enlightenment and social political consciousness of the weaker sections. We can rightly say that these amendments have brought in a lot of favorable changes in the functioning of the local bodies and has bestowed them with a lot of powers and duties. Role of women in Indian politics. 1. Gender-responsive government is defined as a process that embodies measures, attitudes, and practices of different stakeholders, both men and women, at different levels of governance with a clear purpose to impact issues that foster women's empowerment and promote gender equality and social justice. It is a process that promotes and sustains the ability of women to fully participate in the governance and development process, enhances their ability to raise critical questions about inequity and collectivize without fear and pressure, and ensures gains from services. Second, the participation of women in politics is not a new phenomenon. In ancient times, during early Vedic period, women had the right to become members of Sabha and Samiti. However, their position declined considerably after the end of Vedic age and were not only denied the political rights but were confined to the four walls of the house. Third, women face many inequalities and are regarded inferior to men. Many women participated in the struggle for independence as well. The struggle for independence has seen many women revolutionaries playing an important role. The freedom movement led many women into the stream of politics. Fourth, nowadays women are not only part of local and state administration but are coming forward to participate in national politics too. They have achieved a very significant role in the parliament as well. India has had a women prime minister and a women president, and women are entering politics in great numbers. But for Indian women looking for a career in politics, the future is not that bright. Fifth, but when we look at the actual statistics of Indian women's participation in politics, a bitter truth emerges about the world's largest democracy, that women are always underrepresented during elections and in party structures. Sixth, if women actively participate, it can make democracy stronger. Therefore, a democracy should ensure the equality and participation of all of its citizens. Participating in a political party can help women to know their rights and to lead to the betterment of things for themselves and for their families. Seventh, the Constitution of India establishes a parliamentary system of government. It guarantees its citizens the right to be elected, freedom of speech, freedom to assemble and form associations and vote. Eighth, the Constitution of India in many ways tries to remove gender inequalities by banning discrimination based on sex, reserving elected positions for women, etc. Ninth, in the Indian multi-party system with three largest parties in India, namely the Indian National Congress, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Communist Party of India, other local parties have increased outreach among women voters as India's party system has become more competitive. This has included the election of women wings in the largest parties like BJP, Mahila Morcha, All India Mahila Congress and National Federation of Indian Women. 10th. In India, reform movements before and after independence has helped women to gain some power in politics. After independence, they have achieved an unprecedented political breakthrough with the reservation of seats for them in panchayats and other public bodies. 11th. Women find it difficult to join Indian politics because they are not educated. We can rightly say that women in India have been oppressed and discriminated by men. They have always been treated as a weaker sex. Women have always been given a second-class citizenship status in many parts of India, and they still are fighting for their rights. Many places they are fighting against their social clauses against them. Most of them look towards the law of government to help them. 12th. Women like Sarojini Naidu, Vijayalakshmi Pandit, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur and Aruna Asaf Ali were some of the educated elite women who played their part in the independence movement, motivating the other women thus to enter politics. 13. Indira Gandhi made a great impact on the Indian democracy. However, she did little to promote the cause of women. However, Indira Gandhi was the first women Prime Minister of India and she rose to be one of the most powerful people in the world. Then there is Mamata Banerjee, who came from West Bengal. With the popular mass-based support, she rose as a powerful political leader. Also, Sonia Gandhi, who is right now one of the most powerful women in the world. She is leader of Congress, but the irony. The first woman President Pratibha Patil was elected only after 50 years of independence. 14th. The majority of women in the Indian Parliament are from the elite class. While their public role challenges some stereotypes, their class position often allows them as a far greater range of options than are available to poorer women. Caste has been the important feature of Indian society and political life. Most of the women MPs in the 10th Parliament were members of the higher caste. Currently, only 9% of women constitute in the Parliament. 15. The reservation system for women in India was introduced first at the Panchayat level in Karnataka first in 1983, where 25% of the seats were reserved for women. Then, in 1996, one-third, that is 27% of the seats in the Parliament and state legislature were reserved for women. Reasons why more women need to be in politics. The greater the number of women in public office, articulating interest and seen to be wielding power, the more the gender hierarchy in public life could be weakened. In other words, the social constraints, husband, family and village, can be weakened if there are more women. Other women can learn from the examples and explore the strategies that women employ to access the public sphere in the context of socio-political system. These women can learn from the women who have been successful in subverting the boundaries of gender and operating in a very aggressive male-dominated sphere. Contribution of women in Indian politics. Is there a future for women in politics? All the above matter brings us to an important question. What is the future of women politicians in India? If we take other parties, it will take a lot of effort to even recall the names of prominent women politicians. Throughout history, there has been women politicians revered by many and scrutinized by many more, but prejudice could not stop all of them. Various parties have made endless efforts to induct women at various levels of party organization. The BJP has been known to have highest percentage of women in Parliament Board and the Election Committee. The Congress Party, led by a woman, has only 10% of women among the candidates. Can we remember the name of a woman playing a prominent role in Mulayam Singh's Samajwadi Party? Lalu Prasad's RJD got a woman chief minister in the form of Rabri Devi for a very obvious reason. When Lalu faced corruption charges and had to step down, he could trust no one other than his wife, Rabri. She did not even know the ABC of politics. The lack of both education and political training of any sort was clearly evident in the kind of language she used and the charges she made against the Bihar Chief Minister, Nitish Kumar, during the Lok Sabha election campaign. Ms. Jaya Jaitli's tryst with the Janata Dal was a passing phase and she had faded into oblivion. Some women leaders have important place in Indian politics. Jayalalitha as a leader of AIADMK, Mamata Banerjee as a leader of TMC, and Mayawati as a leader of BSP are instances in point. Sonia Gandhi had initially refused but later led the Indian National Congress in 1998 after the party was left in shambles post the 1996 elections. As a leader, she quickly gained pace and became one of the most powerful women in Indian politics. Vasundhara Raje was not only elected to the 8th Rajasthan Assembly from Dholpur, but also became the Vice President of BJP's Yuva Morcha. She is currently the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, the first female Chief Minister of that state. Mayawati Das created history by becoming Uttar Pradesh's first Dalit Chief Minister. Also, Sushma Swaraj created history by becoming Delhi's first female Chief Minister in 1998. She has been serving as the Union Minister for External Affairs since 2014. These are the leaders who can influence the decision of their own party as well as the course of national politics. The role of Indira Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi within the Congress party is well admired. Both of them well prove the fact that women in power do not confine themselves to women issues only. So we can rightly say that women are surely needed in Indian politics. Their contribution to Indian politics cannot be ignored. Slowly their numbers are increasing and they are now more confident about themselves. These points prove that there sure is a future for women in politics in India. Problems faced by women. Politics is directly related to governance and management of any society. Political power is necessary to formulate policies, law and order for a state. Indian Constitution provides provision for equal political participation of men and women in the process of formulation of government. But it is certainly not true in the case of women, especially in a democratic country like India. The reason behind women facing these problems are historical, social and cultural factors that have always restricted women to utilize her capabilities and nurture her talent for the growth and development in almost every sphere of life. The preference for education is given to men and women are considered as secondary for earning bread for the family. As a result, there are fewer women in paid workforce than men. Women are paid less for the presumption that they work less. They are discriminated in land and property rights. They have to face violence inside and outside their families throughout their lives. Because of these factors, that is, negative social and legal environments for women, they tend to lose confidence and ability to efficiently work in public sphere. Whenever women are being discussed upon, statistic demonstrates very clear facts about condition of women in a particular region. For example, in India, the declining sex ratio is very well depict the low gender equity status. The data also infer the increasing violence and crimes against women and their marginalized status in employment, education and health sectors. While literary rate for women is only 53.7 as compared to 73.3 for men. Among SC/ST, only 24% SC and 18% ST females can read and write. Women are considered incapable of convincing the laborers, workers, traders, government employees and general public that their interest and aspiration will be taken care of and duly implemented during their tenure period. This is the reason that in spite of their ability in administration and the art of political articulation, they could not reach higher level in politics. Few women reach to the position of cabinet ministers and they are generally assigned portfolios in the social service sectors of health, education, social welfare, child development, etc. The major role of women should be strengthened in local self-government or Panchayati Raj system. The experience of the women in such local and remote regions is analytically measured in terms of social taboos, social legitimized caste barrier and gender bias that they face during decision making and implementation of the laws at regional levels. Still, women participating in building self-government at the local level has increased due to certain factors. The village women have inculcated unanimous opinion in this regard. Approximately about 40% of women to get into political bodies come from marginalized sections and communities. Although women from such weaker section of society are promoted to promote interests of communities, but this positive change in the society provide new kind of women experiment and intensive political participation at the grassroots level. At the end of this, I can only say that women's role in politics is set to increase. It will increase at a very fast pace. Measures to overcome the challenges and increase participation of women or problems faced by women in politics. 1. Eliminate discrimination of participation. All the parties should take measures to eliminate discrimination against women in the political and public life. This is the most important. All barriers that directly or indirectly discriminate against the participation of women must be removed. 2. Promote gender equality. Gender equality in particular shall ensure that women are on equal terms with men, also incorporating gender issues in their political agenda. Taking measures to ensure that women can participate in the leadership of political parties on an equal basis with men will help in resolving the issue to a certain extent. Therefore, achieving gender equality must begin with efforts to ensure with equitable access to social protection as well as developing and implementing frameworks, guidelines and mechanisms to eliminate all forms of discrimination. 3. Encourage to vote and participate in public and political associations. The women, although having equal voting rights, do not vote in all elections. The government must encourage the women to vote. Women must be allowed to participate in non-governmental organizations and associations concerned with the public and political life of the country. This will help in building the confidence of the women. It will also help in spreading the message to other women. 4. Allow women to participate fully in all internal policy making structures. The government must come up with initiatives that allow women to participate fully in all internal policy making structures. This includes passing legislations, amending constitution, and repealing all laws that limit women's rights and prevent them from participating in all aspects of society. In our country, women are limited to serving only 1 or 2 terms as reserved seat MPs. It should be made sure that women do not enter the politics just for the namesake. 5th, changing traditional mindsets. Men work in all sectors of society: politicians, religious leaders, security officials, businessmen, etc. Therefore, they are a key to eliminating traditional mindset towards women and convincing others of the important role women play. For example, in the short term, in our kind of patriarchal society, praising a women candidate for office may significantly increase her chance of getting elected. 6th, media coverage. Equitable media coverage for female candidates for office will help the public know about the work of women in politics. Traditional media and social media both can be used as platforms which can change the mindset of stereotypes. 7th, support and development. Advocacy campaigning, taking support from women's organization and civil society for women running for office, arranging for development programs for women interested in entering politics, providing financial support for female candidates, imposing heavy penalties for people who violate the gender equality rules. While we can rightly say that over the past few years there have been some improvements in gender equality and the level of women participating in politics, India still suffers from significant inequalities and lags behind other regions of the world in closing the gender gap. Women's political participation is not only an asset, but it is also necessary in addressing the many complex issues in today's world, particularly political issues, as women comprise more than half of the world's population.